we're going to focus on the teams that have beaten the Chiefs in the last 2 years and how they did it, and see if we can come up with a coherent formula as to what it takes to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And we start today with Week 6 of the 2018 season, Kansas City at New England. Remember, this is not this past year. This is 2018. I remember the game vividly. The Patriots finally hung on to win it 43-40, although the game was tied 40-40 in the last 2 minutes. I do remember that there were 7 scores combined from the two sides in the last 16 minutes of the game, even though at the beginning – offense wasn't necessarily all that dominant. In fact, the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime had 3 field goals. And that's one of my 2 impressions of this game. Impression 1, you have to force them to settle for field goals. And that's what the Patriots succeeded in doing. At the half, the score is, I believe,
24-9.
24-9, right? Patriots have scored 4 times. The Chiefs have scored 3 times. But the Chiefs' scores have all been field goals. 3 of the 4 New England scores have been touchdowns. Yep. So that's one key, I think, to beating Kansas City. They're going to score points. Make those points come 3 at a time, as much as you can. The second point is that you've got to force multiple turnovers. Whether you're fooling Patrick Mahomes, as the Patriots did early in the game with Hightower faking a blitz, dropping into coverage, and picking off Patrick Mahomes' pass. Or at the end of the half when he's throwing out of desperation and Harmon intercepts him to give the Patriots that 24-9 lead at halftime. So, forcing multiple turnovers and making them kick field goals rather than score touchdowns, I think in a general sense, is always going to be the key these days to knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. When you watch the film, when you watch this game, this 2018 game, the thing that jumps out immediately is exactly what you said about Hightower. Hightower's all over the field. There's plays that he's lined up at the 3 technique with his hand in the dirt. There's plays that he's lined up as a defensive tackle when he's standing up. And he's faking blitzes. He's dropping back in coverage. He's playing outside linebacker, Mike linebacker, Will linebacker, Sam linebacker, playing all these different positions. And he's their utility guy. He's their guy that lines that defense up and gets everybody in the right spot before that ball is snapped. And he did a heck of a job doing it and just disguising what they were doing. I think another thing that New England did really well earlier in the game and even in the third quarter, and they kind of bailed out of it late in the third quarter when Kansas City started putting some points, on the board. They scored 17 in the third. But another thing that they were doing was they were keeping a lot of those guys at the line of scrimmage. So a lot of plays, you saw 8 different guys at the line of scrimmage. And now there was guys that were dropping out in coverage, but just the initial formation of the defense, a lot of people at that line of scrimmage. And they kind of got out of it after Kareem Hunt scored that long touchdown. And that's what it stresses, right? When you're going to put 8 guys at the line of scrimmage, those guys at the back end, they got to be able to hold up in one-on-one coverage. So New England got out of it later on in the game, but I thought it was a great game plan for the first half. It definitely confused Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, and he wasn't able to really do anything with that. So you can't be one-dimensional in your defenses. You got to be able to send different guys on blitzes. You got to be able to drop different guys out in coverage. You're seeing Hightower drop. There was a play where they're dropping their big defensive tackle guy. He's dropping down, and now he's in coverage where it just switching it up and just not giving them a basic generic defense where he's like, okay, these 4 guys are coming, and now this linebacker or this safety's coming. So that's definitely something that you have to do. And another thing that if you're going to ever have a chance to beat Kansas City, you got to be efficient in the run game. You look at New England, in that game, they ran the ball 35 times. Their leading rusher, Sony Michel, that day, 24 carries, 106 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, two touchdowns. That's efficiency. That's, hey, you know what, we got a guy that we could go give him the ball. He's going to get us 4 yards of carry. Well, that now helps control the time of possession. Even though that this was high scoring and you had the 7 lead changes late in the game, that you still were able to hold on to the ball a long period of time early in that game. So you got to be able to put all those things together. But I think the biggest keys to beating Patrick Mahomes is being able to switch your game plan from the first half to the second half. I think that any team that's really going to be able to compete with them and really be able to beat Kansas City, you cannot say, oh, we're going to keep it the exact same way as far as our game plan in the second half that it was in the first half, because they do a heck of a job with Patrick Mahomes and Bieniemy and Andy Reid. They do a heck of a job going in at halftime, being able to make some adjustments and coming back out and being explosive. So you got to be able to have adjustments in the second half in order to compete.
The numbers are amazing for the two quarterbacks, almost identical. Mahomes, 23 of 36 for 352. Brady, 24 of 35 for 340. Bit of a difference with Mahomes going 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Was never sacked, although he's pressured a lot. Brady, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 2 sacks for 13 yards and losses. He did fumble, and the minute the Patriots turned the ball over on that fumble, the whole tenor of the game changed, and it became, as I said at the beginning, 7 scores in the last 16 minutes of the game. The Patriots were leading 24-9 at one point. They were up 27-16. Chiefs actually took the lead in the fourth quarter at 33-30, but couldn't hang on. The Patriots come back to win it on Gostkowski's 28-yard field goal at the final gun. 43-40 was the final. But I'll tell you what, you're not going to catch Patrick Mahomes on too many bad days, at least statistically. You've got to be able to force, even on good days for Mahomes, got to force a couple of mistakes. And, of course, you've got to keep the pressure on. And, yes, to your point, Orlando, not only control the time of possession with your running game, but score points at the same time. The Patriots needed 41 points to win. They got 43 in winning that game, 43-40. And we say sometimes regular season games are playoff previews, and they really almost never are. They're different kinds of games once the playoffs start. But in this case, the regular season game was almost exactly the same kind of game they played again in the AFC Championship game a few months later.